Hi, I'm David Ezekiel, transitional pastor for the First Federated Church of Peoria. Welcome to our midweek moment. LeaderWise consultant Mary Kay Duchesne tells the following story in which she said, "Quite a long time ago, I was in San Francisco for work, and winding down at the end of the day in my hotel room, I was in my comfy pajamas and reading a book when the lamps began to sway and the floors began to shudder. Before I could really understand what was happening, the sirens, indicating an earthquake was happening, sounded, and a voice over an intercom system gave instructions." Mary Kay said that the next day when she arrived at the office, my local colleagues handed me a certificate that said, "Congratulations, you survived a 4.3. She continues, "I live in the upper Midwest, where severe thunderstorms and tornadoes are our nemesis, and I was happy to get home, where I knew I could trust the ground on which I was literally standing. I remember telling many people of my experience and declaring, 'I'll take tornadoes any day. The ground is not supposed to shake and shift.' For some reason, we believe that's true metaphorically as well. We believe the ground should never shake and shift beneath our feet, and yet it often does. Sometimes in small ways, sometimes in really big ways. Like the last 18 months, the ground has moved and shifted and continues to do so. And we don't know where or when or how it's going to settle. A colleague of Mary Kay's was recently talking with someone who wanted her to speak to their audience and give them all the answers about what life is going to be like post-pandemic. And she rightfully continued to tell them, "I can't do that. We don't know." And she finally declined the invitation. We just don't have the answers. We're still in the middle of the earthquake and the ground hasn't settled into its new form yet. There's no way to put a stake in the ground and rest assured that the stake won't move. But when the ground shakes, when the foundations upon which we have based our life are in upheaval, we often ask the question, where is God in all of this? Where can we find the holy in the midst of all the unknowns today? Where can we find the divine in political turmoil, social unrest, pandemic trauma and uncertainty, and even religious decline? How do we ground ourselves when the earth is still shaking, when we have no answers to our deeply felt questions? Since early 2020, the ground under our feet has shaken and shifted, and we've been dislocated. We've experienced loss, death, unwanted change, systemic racism, and exposure of the underbelly of a society that is something other than what it claims to be. As we prepare to look beyond the pandemic, it's time to reground ourselves, to look anew at who we are. In the midst of extraordinary times, we have an incredible opportunity to reframe our view, to reground. For grounding is about relocation, finding ourselves in history, in geography, and connection with ourselves, community, and the divine. In her book, Grateful, sociologist Diana Butler Bass offers gratitude as a source of grounding and a balm against all that divides, harms, worries, and traumatizes us. She writes, "Terrible, distressing, painful, and awful things happen all the time. Yet gratitude is a defiance of sorts. The defiance of kindness in the face of anger, of connection in the face of division, and of hope in the face of fear. Gratefulness does not acquiesce to evil, it resists evil. Thus, gratitude strengthens our character and moral resolve, giving each of us the possibility of living peaceably and justly." The spiritual practice of gratitude is one of the tools we have to find a means of a sense of location and groundedness in any season. It calls us together in the practice of thanksgiving. For you, what would that look like? Especially as we look forward to the future as it is unfolding, what do you have for which you can be grateful? Now, there's no way to provide the 10-step guide for whatever's next, but together we can ground ourselves spiritually and prepare our souls for the next chapter, whatever that may be. Practice being grateful. It will reduce your anxiety, and it will lower your blood pressure. I'm David Ezekiel, and I am grateful that you have shared this midweek moment with me.